future, I believe, is bright, but again, I'm going to stick with upskilling the L&D team. We, as L&D professionals, are going to be at the center of it all. So I think the future would be just ongoing AI fluency training for the team, non-negotiable, hosting quarterly AI labs, as I mentioned earlier. And I also think roles will change. I know a lot of folks are concerned about losing their jobs. I don't believe too many roles within L&D will be lost due to AI. I believe they will evolve. For example, I can see instructional designers roles shifting more into content curators and personalization, AI experience designers. I think AI will be a part of the team as it evolves, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's to come.
Raquel, I can remember talking to you a few years ago, and I think at the time I may have been a training team of one at this corporation that I was at for our particular area of the organization. And you had a training coordinator, and you were telling me, Melody, this is the best thing. If you can only hire one role, then make sure you get a coordinator because they can do all of these things. And that's how Chat GPT is in some ways. And I would say to anybody who is in the role that I've been in the past, where you are a training team of one, you especially need to adapt to this Chat GPT because it's your thought partner when you're trying to figure out which way I should go with this and bouncing things off of somebody, but you only have yourself to bounce it off of, or it's your assistant. So I think if you are in that role where you're a training team of one, you really need to hear us and do what's needed to make sure that you are a part of this new wave using ChatGPT as an assistant.
I will also add, and this may just be partially my personality of being like terminally optimistic, wanting to shift mindset sometimes. But I would say to those who are concerned about it potentially eliminating their role or negatively impacting their role, I would shift looking at that and instead really adapt and adopt and learn everything that you can to maximize your capability in that role. Because what I really believe if you do it correctly, it really can become something that advances your career because you can then get some of these systems, processes, automations to do some of those things that in the past took time to do. And now you have additional time to really evolve and develop your skills so that you can really take on more things, right? And be able to really advance your career and create better opportunities for yourself. And I think at the end of the day, that there's still a human touch that's necessary. We can provide all of these pieces and all of these parts that can help to replace some of the things that can be automated. And in an ideal world, that frees up additional time for us to be able to create more of that employee engagement and relationship building and really get to know people within our teams and our organization to create more of that level of engagement and them feeling like they're able to contribute. So I think it can be a really good balance. I think we just have to be very deliberate and intentional about how we're doing it and how we're approaching it. Those who are in learning and development roles, I think this is a really great opportunity for us to model what being a great learner looks like, right? I think this is an opportunity for us to really demonstrate the power that comes with curiosity and with learning, and how many doors that opens and how many possibilities that opens. And so while I completely understand resistance and concerns and fears, I think this is an opportunity for us to really model what learning and development of skills really looks like.
And I think that if we intentionally prepare for this, for AI and the changes, then we have the opportunity to maybe shape how it works in our industry instead of just being a part of whatever happens. And before we leave, I'd love to know, how are you guys staying current? How are you staying current with AI? I heard you say some things, Raquel, but Mandy, how are you staying current?
I am obsessed with podcasts, so that's a big part of things. So I seek out podcasts that are in the learning and development space for sure, but even podcasts on marketing. Um, I have said before, I think marketing is a sister department for learning and development, because I think at the end of the day, we're all communicating to affect behavior, right? And so there's some really great tools and application and use cases that the marketing world is using for some of these AI things. So I think that is a great place to look and to dive into. I also like our friends over at ATD. Training industry is another great tool. Harvard Business Review. I have a secret crush on that whole publication, just because it's so full of really great information and content that not only help me personally and in my growth and in my business, but also are really great tools to share with clients and for those that we get to serve because there's just such valuable stuff there. So I think we have it coming from every direction. And then we can always go into our chat buddies, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using, and ask them where are some places that I should be going and getting cutting edge information that we know is accurate, or what are some new things you can do and capabilities that you have that I'm not aware of. Fill me in. And so I think we can get lots of information from lots of different places. But I will reiterate what was said earlier too. Make sure that it's getting it from credible sources and you validate that information. But there's a lot out there.
There
You
is
know
so
what? You
much out
mentioned
there.
I'm sorry. You mentioned that, and I did use ChatGPT recently because there's so much going on in Canva, and I just haven't taken the time to find out about Canva AI. Actually, one of the first places I used AI was in Canva. It had Canva Write or something in it. And before I even used ChatGPT, started using it a couple of years ago, I would go in there and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Okay, rewrite this for me. And I still use Canva so much, but I haven't really gone into the Canva AI part. So I asked ChatGPT, what's new about Canva? What's the Canva AI about? And it'll break it all down. That's one of the cool things about ChatGPT. It can break it down to a simplistic level, whatever you need it to be. If you say, teach it to me like I'm a 10-year-old, it'll come back and tell you about trains and trucks and apples, and it'll break it down to the level you need it to be.
Yes.
And one of the ways that I stay current is with you guys and other colleagues, because it's a challenge for me. I get so busy working, and I do have such a small team that I get so busy executing till I have to make myself be sure that I go and make and be aware of what's out there. And so I do it. But one of my ways is just having time with colleagues and what are you doing and what are you doing? And then learning from that. And then another thing is our local ATD is we have an AI group. And so we actually every month or every other month, I think it is, two people take on a particular AI tool, and then we come back and we give a review to the rest of us and a presentation to the rest of us on that. So I've learned from them as well. So there's opportunity out there. And I was just wondering what you guys are doing to stay current. It sounds like Mandy's a learner at heart, so she's always doing things, and I'm not necessarily that, so I
I
have to
think
force
you
myself
are.
into it.
You are. I mean, we may not have mentioned this to the audience, but we all go way back. We had a training forum in the past. We're all based in different states, but learning and development is a pretty tight community. We all like to learn, grow, and stay relevant. So we decided, hey, what's working for you? What are you working on these days? How do you stay current on this? And let's share some resources here and there. We've always done that, and we're doing it again.
But let me say, Raquel, as a Clifton Strengths coach, I define learner differently today than I did 10 years ago. And learners, from that standpoint, that's just what they love to do. You know, they will read books and go to seminars or podcasts or whatever it is. They just want to learn. And I remember when I first started with Clifton Strengths, I thought, learner. And what I realized when I'm honest with myself is I learn because I need to use it. I'm not the person who's going to learn just to learn, just to have information. And I have some of those people in my life, but I'm not one of them. If I'm reading for pleasure, it is not going to be a book on engineering or lots of other things, but I do learn for the purpose of my job and things like that. So it's just a definition of learner. So I thank you for calling that out.
I think that's
Yes,
a really
ma'am.
great call out. And I know we're going on a tangent, but I'm going to go here anyway.
That's when we're at our best.
I know, right? This is what's real when we have these conversations, right? But I think that brings up a whole other kind of realm, right? Of at the end of the day for L&D, we've got to be able to find those things and what's motivating the people that we're providing these resources to, whether it's an employee and workforce on how to do their job better or how to utilize the AI tools that are provided and allowed to them in the best possible way. How to engage with their leadership, whatever that is, whatever those tools are that we're giving and that instruction and development that we're providing to them, we have, and this is where the human part comes in. And at least as of right now, I don't feel like AI can really replicate this of really being able to tap into what are those motivators. And you talked about Clifton Strengths. I know we've had conversations. I love Clifton Strengths, love that whole model, and DISC as well, right? So we have to look at those things, and as we're putting together the communication, whether it's to help lead a change effort around the adoption of AI and how it should be used, or even the consumption of the learning and development resources that we put out there, we have to speak to what those things are, right? So for those who are motivated by being able to utilize and these tools to execute, let's make sure that we're speaking to that. For those that are really about how do we utilize these tools for influencing and gathering people together and telling a story that's effective, let's make sure that we're speaking to that as well. For those who are really motivated and exceptional at that relationship building, let's talk about how this tool is not going to replace the ability for us to connect clearly as we continue to make this a habit of getting together and collaborating. But let's speak to those things of like, this is going to enable you to be able to create those relationships better. And my primary strengths and my top 5 anyway fall into that strategic thinking kind of strategic bucket, right? So I'm looking at some of those things of how do I use these tools to solve problems, right? And so I think it's just a great reminder for anybody in L&D, whether it's curriculum development, you're an e-learning producer and you're out there building those things. If you're running the LMS and you're setting it up for the user experience and or collecting data and looking at those things, we need to be looking at what are those drivers of human behavior. And then how do we tap into those things so that we make sure that we're providing resources in a way that all of our folks can be able to really utilize it and grow in their careers as a result of it.
I'm curious about what you guys think about the future of L&D in AI. So jot down your feedback or comments below and let us know your thoughts.